Hey, you're out in the garage with TheEZGZ. We're going to take a look at this swap meet transmission that we bought the other day, and I'm going to show you why I bought it and what to look for when you're searching for a transmission. The different types of things that you want to check right there on the spot. If you can't drive it, you're throwing the dice no matter what. When you're buying something at a swap meet, there's no warranty, you can't take it back, you're just sort of throwing the dice. So to get things as much in your favor, make sure that it's a transmission that works for the year of car that you have. You can convert this style of IRS transmission to an earlier swing axle. You would have to run the late pressure plate on a 12-volt flywheel. You would have to go inside and change the housing that holds the differential, the ring and pinion, and you can convert it. Sometimes it takes buying a super diff type differential housing, and you can, if you like, leave two of those spider gears out and just run with the two that are in this one and use them in that. There's some shims. It's probably beyond most amateur beginners setting something like that up, but you can do that. If you're looking at a transmission, you want to get an overall view of the outside of it. How caked with junk is it? Sometimes people wash them off. In this case, it was just yanked out of the car. It had tons of grease and dried dirt and junk on it, and the price was $50. I saw a lot of them that were cleaner, but they had no history of them, and they were asking $100 and $200. It just depends on how much you want to experiment with. When you get one of these transmissions and you turn this and you move it back and forth, you're not feeling the backlash. What you're feeling is the play in the little spider gears in the differential. You're not even moving the ring and pinion at this point. Let's see, we'll turn it from the side here. And you can see that the main shaft is not turning, but the axles are indeed turning. That's the way it's supposed to go. If you want the main shaft to turn and you want to feel the teeth on the ring gear, you have to grab the flange on both sides and turn them the same direction, the same speed. And you'll see that the main shaft is rotating, and there's a chance you might feel if a tooth is missing, but you're not going to feel if it's pitted or rough or the gear pattern, anything like that, even if you have a lot of experience. It's just you're taking somebody's word for it, and chances are they got an old car and they won't remember, or they don't have a clue. They didn't drive it themselves. Now, this particular year, they have the later style throwout bearing with this sleeve. I took the throwout bearing off because it felt good and it felt smooth, and it's the original German style, so I'm setting it aside. I unbolted the sleeve and I put the nuts and lock washers back on there, snugged them down so that I could clean it at the car wash, because the whole inside of this was all gunked up too. When I got home, I sprayed it with a little penetrating oil just so the rust wouldn't get on it. This is a bearing surface. If you have play up and down and side to side here, that's okay, because the end of the shaft goes in the crankshaft pilot bearing in the flywheel into the crankshaft, and that's what supports this end. So it's normal to have play. That is not wear. That's normal. You want to take the oil plug out if possible and stick your finger in there. Look at the condition of the oil. Look at the color. Smell it. Believe it or not, this tranny oil, if it's been burned, it will smell a little different. It has a kind of sulfur smell to it anyhow. The synthetic oils don't, but the early mineral oil based stuff does. And transmission fluid is different than engine oil. So there you go. This one had the two side covers, like I said. I like that. It is also an indication that it's probably, I don't know, around the 1970, 71, 72. Then they started going to the single side covers. They don't have the bolts on this side. Where your clutch cable goes, that'll always be there and always be removable because that's the side you have to put your ring gear and differential in from. But on this side they started making them one piece. I don't know if it was a production thing, a strength thing, or not. This year the side covers had O-rings to seal them instead of paper gaskets. They seal a little better. It looks to me like these seals were leaking. This was definitely leaking because the seal was bad. So I think there's going to be reverse gear damage, and I have some spare gears, and those can be purchased. So we're going to check the synchronizer clearance. We're going to check the pinion bearing, how tight it fits in the case. If you loosen the retaining nut and it just falls out, the case is junk. It needs to be pushed out. It needs to be a friction fit, that pinion bearing in the case. We'll go over that in a separate video, but I wanted to post this up in an initial video to what you want to look for when you're just searching for a spare tranny or to replace a damaged one that you already have. So I hope this helps somebody. Don't forget your ground strap. You always want to have that on any car, and that's typical where they put it. You got your reverse backup switch for your lights. That goes over here. These will typically start leaking just like an oil sending unit on the engine. That's not unusual either. So here's another thing. You look at these detents here. This has a tendency, makes me think that it was rebuilt too, because it's a different color. Those aluminum plugs are usually the same color as the case. This may have been professionally had something done to it, which this makes it even more exciting for me, because if it was in an off-road car, chances are it might have welded third and fourth, or maybe some different gear ratios too. All things that you don't know until you get inside and start looking around. So we'll do this in a separate video, go further. Cleaners. How do you want to clean this thing? I just go to the car wash and use the high pressure washer to get the first layer off. Then I bring it home. You can use brake parts cleaner. You can use an engine foam cleaner to soak it. You're going to have to do a lot of scraping. I spent probably an hour just getting into the nooks and crannies with wire brushes, screwdrivers, picks. This tranny stuff gear is a spot that I mix, but I'm not probably going to keep it's just nasty. Nasty, nasty. Get that part done, because you don't want to get it inside. You're going to have to address it sooner or later. These little solvent tanks are pretty much worthless for a transmission, and if you use these new cleaners that they recommend that are water-based, when you clean parts, this is what they're going to come out when they dry off if you don't prep them right away. Like these water-based things for cleaning internal transmission parts outside of the case, but I would definitely take it to the car wash and rinse it off, and then take something like penetrating oil or WD-40 or something, and kind of squirt it on a rag and wipe it down, or squirt it on the case and wipe it off, and that'll eliminate some of that discoloration. We won't know more until we get inside, and when you pull the plug, I'm not going to do it with my hands here. When you pull the plug and drain the oil, you're going to find a magnet on the lower one, probably not on the fill plug, and there's going to be a lot of metal on it. That's typically what you're going to see, and even if you have a 3/4 inch high pile of it, that's normal. It could still be a great transmission. Don't let that alone be the deciding factor. I don't like to paint transmissions. I don't even like to purchase something that's been painted. I'd rather see the raw aluminum and see how it's pitted. It kind of gives me an indication of what part of the country it comes from. Your salty areas that use salt in the wintertime and have snow, they're going to have a lot of pitting and stuff here on the bottom. This one looks pretty good down here. There's a pink stripe on it. That could have been done by the factory to indicate something. I've seen that color before, or it could have been done by a builder. indicating that this transmission's already been checked. You never know. When I see something like this axle seal here on the center, this is a source for a lot of oil to come out, and it means that it's taken a hard side hit. With all the mud that was on here, I wouldn't even be surprised if this had been in a Baja or something and used off-road, and chances are a CV broke and the axle came over far enough to smack this. There was low. This thing was low on oil, so it could have gotten real hot. All the seals need to be addressed on this thing, and I think I'll call this a wrap. And hope your day's going well. Hope your projects are working out for you. Good luck at the swap meet. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subbing. TheEZGZ out.